1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Mensah, Manager of Indigenization, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility at the City of Kingston, and I'm here to tell you more about supporting diverse communities.
Welcome back to Tell Me More, the podcast that knows diversity builds resiliency. I'm host Autumn Hume from the city's communications team, and today we're talking about what the City of Kingston is doing to support diverse communities. Kingston is a city that's growing. A recent report says a population of 220,000 is possible by 2051. We recently did an episode on this very topic, actually, and with the growth in the city's cultural fabric that's expanding and diversifying, how do we support that to make sure that there's space for it to grow and flourish? Well, today I've got Vanessa Mensah, who leads the city's work on inclusion and diversity, and she's here to tell me more about some of the ways the city is trying to support Kingston's diverse and growing community. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Thank you.
To start us off, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about your role here at the city. What is it that you do?
So as I mentioned, I am the very long title, but summed up to the idea manager. Mm-hmm. And so the role is to ensure that I'm supporting the internal equity, diversity, inclusion, indigenization, accessibility, and equity within the corporation, as well as externally within our communities.
It sounds like quite a big role, quite a lot of pieces to it. The title of the episode's a little non-specific, as supporting diverse communities can encompass a lot of different things depending on the purpose and on the context. So I want to narrow it down a little bit for the purposes of our conversation. Maybe we can focus it a bit. What does supporting diverse communities mean to you in sort of the context of your role with the city?
Right. So it's really important for us to understand, how we got here. And so Kingston has predominantly been a homogeneous community.
Right.
We did have many communities that were not from the dominant identities that lived in Kingston, but they weren't necessarily at the forefront. They weren't being seen. They weren't being celebrated. And so as time continues and as Kingston continues to grow, we're seeing a diverse group of people who are coming. So anywhere from the growth of a Muslim population to Black to Asian to South Asian. Our community is growing. And so how do we build capacity within those communities? How do we ensure that how they are seen, they're heard? How do we ensure that there is a space for everyone that's here in our community?
I want to sort of focus on one of the phrases you used in your answer there. The community capacity piece is really interesting. Why is that a priority in this work?
So in order for us to continue to support the ethno groups and the self-forming community groups in our city, we need to know who they are. That means that we need to take a time to take inventory of who is in our community, whose voice is missing. Right. And in order for us to do that, we need to ask those critical questions.
That seems very simple. Before we can dive into the work of supporting communities, we need to understand what communities are here and maybe, what kind of support looks like. Because it might look different from one community group to the next, or right. So you said sort of the first step is building this capacity and identifying the different groups that we're working with. How do we connect with these local communities? How do we seek them out?
Yeah, and so there's a lot of great work that's being done by KIP and also KHCHC that are working with
What's KIP? Sorry.
Oh, you're right. So that is Kingston Immigration Partners. Lost me for a second there. And so okay. Kingston Immigration Partners does a lot of work with the ethnocultural groups. We also know that there are well-established self-forming groups that in the community. And so it's really just the old-fashioned way, which is connecting with people, calling people, asking people, hey, tell me a bit more about what you're doing.
Right.
It's about also reaching out to the different groups that are coming to Kingston and saying, hey, I know that maybe your group doesn't exist, or have you thought about starting a group? And how do we connect people who are looking for a place to connect, to collaborate, to amplify the work of each other? How do we connect them together so that they can continue to do that work?
Right. Okay. So it sounds a little bit like we're trying to find the pieces that are already there and work with them. We've got the Kingston Immigration Partnership that's already connected with these communities. So,
right.
Like, why reinvent the wheel, right?
Right. Exactly.
Let's just amplify some of the good work that's already being done and bring these efforts together. Right. This is really cool. So how can community groups connect with the city for these types of supports, or to get themselves known, I guess, as part of this process.
Yeah, one of the projects that I had worked on earlier this year was the Anti-Hate Resource Toolkit, and so that really was an opportunity to let the community, our hurting community, given what's going on globally, matters. We have people from Haiti, we have people from the different countries in Africa, we have what's happening in the Middle East right now, and so we were looking for ways to support our hurting community to find resources. So that's therapy, community resources and whatnot. And so part of that, there is a section there that highlights community groups. And so we're hoping that folks would complete that survey. And that's one way for you to let us know. Another way is just to contact me. I mean, I'd be happy to meet with you and your organization, you and your groups, just to learn a bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah.
I do, Autumn, want to go back to the importance of finding connection. When you're in a community like Kingston, I've been here for about 12 years now, over 10 years, about 12 years. And I didn't know that there were Tree people who were here, Akan people. So I'm from West Africa, Ghana.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that my tribal group existed here in Kingston. And so, I was going back to Toronto every 2 weeks just to find community food and connection. And so when I was able to find out that there's a whole group that exists, that speaks my specific dialect, that, dresses like me, talks like me,
What was that like?
It was incredible. I was like, yo, what's up? I really wasn't like that, but I was actually like, oh, Madaste, speaking my native language to this group of people. And so it's important for people, in order for us to retain the diversity here at the city, we need to ensure that folks are really well connected. And the best way to do that is to connect people with like-minded people.
And to make Kingston feel like it's their home too, right?
Yes. You have to feel like Kingston is your home. As I mentioned, we went back to Toronto to get a haircut, to get food, to do everything we needed to do. Mm-hmm. And now, let me tell you, I am able to see my people, I'll say that, and I'm able to get the groceries that I need. I'm able to get a haircut. Well, my husband is able to get a haircut. My sons are able to also have their needs met and also learn the language. And so I'm able to speak my first language here in Kingston. And so it's a language that I thought I might lose because I don't get to speak it unless I'm speaking with my family. But now I'm able to speak it on the streets, and it's exciting.
This is really incredible because it creates the opportunity for you to retain, for people who move here, to retain what makes their histories and their personal heritage unique, while also contributing and becoming part of the local community. Kingston becomes their home, but they still don't have to, give up the things that make them them.
Yes. And I will tell you, I have a funny quick story. So last year, Kingston had its first jollof competition. I must tell you, this is a long-going war between all the African countries, and I can't get into it right now, but, Ghana jollof is the best. Just make sure you put that in the recording there. But for the first time, we held that, and you won't believe how many community people came out and supported that, and it even inspired other community groups to say, hey, we want to get in on this as well, too. Like, we want to have fun. This is what equity, diversity, and inclusion, this is what it's all about.
And in the meantime, for those of us that, have sort of been the majority in these situations, we benefit from, better food, more options for events, festivals, just a more interesting cultural fabric, frankly, to have more people there. It's not moving people out, but it's moving more in, and it's creating more there for everybody who's here before. It's really unique and exciting.
I like that. I really like that. It's about just how do we, create more seats at the table. So it's not about taking away. That's really important that you highlighted that. It's not about taking away anything. It really is around how do we include more people in the fold? Like how do we have more people around the table so that we can all celebrate each other?
Well, let's dive into some of that then a little bit. So this is really interesting. So I want to get into some of the specifics and some of the programs that you're working on here at the city. And this is just sort of a little drop in the bucket of all the stuff that we've got on the go right now. So could you tell me a bit about the Anti-Racism Taskforce? This sounds really kind of neat.
Yeah, so just to give you a bit of the backstory here. So the Anti-Racism Working Group is a group of community leaders who came together and want to address the racism that's happened within Kingston. Right. And then from that group came the Anti-Racism Taskforce. And the task force is led by Pavna and Abba, who are both community leaders, and also the mayor, who chaired this group, and it brings together the heads of all the decision makers in Kingston to ensure that they're able to move forward the work to dismantle racism.
So kind of like a collective group effort with people that might have sort of broader sway in the community? Or?
Right,
Okay.
right. Because if you think about it, dismantling racism is not going to happen with folks who are not necessarily they're able to advocate, but we know that it takes decision makers to actually bring about that change. And so this clever group brought together a task force to ensure that how change is happening. And to be honest with you, I mean, they've made a lot of great progress recently.
Yeah, so then you're talking about having the decision makers at the table while the discussions about how we tackle racism are happening, right?
Right. And both that happens within the organization, but also as a community as well.
Oh, could you tell me a bit about some of the work that they've done?
Right. So there's an exciting project that's going to be coming out soon. So they've been working on the Anti-Racism campaign. Mm-hmm. And so that is going to be launching a website that speaks to how to combat racism. They're going to be having an awareness campaign that you'll see around the city that, calls out racism, helps label racism, but also points victims who have experienced racism to resources. So if you think about the Anti-Hate Toolkit that I talked about, something similar to that, but really just supporting victims, but also bringing in the education about racism. Believe it or not, Autumn, people don't think racism occurs, and that is that can be quite painful, because we need to be able to call it out, name it, and when it's appropriate, of course, call it in as well too. But it's happening, and we need to address it, and we need there to be resources that points us to how do we do that.
Yeah. It sounds like then even at least having a group that says, yes, racism exists in this community, and yes, we are going to try and tackle it, not ignoring the problem anymore, sounds like at least a significant first step. I mean, and then there's the other progress that's been made. I look forward to seeing the campaign when it rolls out.
Yeah, and I do have a message for those who are on the receiving end of it. Yeah. So oftentimes I know that there's this campaign that's coming out that is, highlighting that this is happening, that it needs to stop, and that it's not okay. And so there's also the group who are experiencing racism, and also want you to know that there are the supports available. And so again, these toolkits exist, the Anti-Hate Toolkit, as well as the resources that are going to be coming out of the Anti-Racism Taskforce, so that you can get the support and the help that you do need. And this is why when we go back to the community groups, it's so important, because if you have a group to come back to say, hey, is this just my experience? Yes. Is this happening for real? They can validate the feelings that you're experiencing, and also point you to resources to support you.
Right, give you some of that community support, that backing, and then when you're ready to move forward and take the next step, they're there for you. That sounds really important. Could you expand a bit on this Anti-Hate Toolkit? You referenced it a couple of times.
Yeah, so the Anti-Hate Toolkit came out of a motion that council gave and directed us to support the hurting community in light of the global issues, and also the current growth of hate within our communities. Mm-hmm. And so this toolkit then highlights, resources, it highlights community groups, how to report a crime, right. How to report hate, and also points you to resources to support those who have experienced hate.
So really geared towards those who may have, unfortunately experienced one of these sort of situations. It gives you some support and where to go, who to talk to.
Right.
Where can you find this toolkit?
Yeah, on the city's website. So if you just go to the City of Kingston website, it should be available. And the title of it is the City of Kingston Anti-Hate resource.
We'll make sure to have that link in the
that
show
would be
notes
great
too, so we can link out to it. So if anybody's interested. And if you're part of a community group, maybe share that around. That's a great resource for various groups in the city to have access to.
Mm-hmm. And that when we talk about anti-hate, it's not just necessarily one identity. That's right. All different identities, social locations, and so looking at also the intersections of identities as well too. And so anyone that falls under the equity deserving groups, there is a resource and there is support for you in that toolkit.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay. Moving down the list of sort of projects and programs that you're working on, let's talk about Newcomers Day.
Yeah, so this is an exciting opportunity for us to celebrate the newcomers here to Kingston. And so, when we think about newcomers, oftentimes we think about folks who are just arriving at our city for the country,
Right.
Kingston, Ontario, for the first time, but it also includes those who are arriving to our city for the first time, right? And so we wanted to put on, council has actually asked us to put on a day that recognizes newcomers to our city. And so whether you're new to the country, whether you're new to the city, whether you moved 5 minutes down the street, we want to connect you with resources in our community. Maybe you want to join a bike club. Maybe you want to know more about the different self-forming groups. Maybe you want to know how to sign up your daughter or your son or your child for, ballet or dance, swimming lessons,
right.
exactly,
Yeah, okay,
swimming
yeah.
lessons. And so an opportunity for us to get together. There will also be a time, we are still working out the details on that, but for new citizens to get their citizenship as well
cool.
too. Right? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so right here in Kingston, we're looking at putting a day on that will celebrate and highlight the newcomers and the new folks to Kingston.
Do we know when it's happening?
It is October 27th.
October 27th.
So keep that date penned in.
Yes, and if you're listening, you probably actually heard that here first, because I don't know if it's been announced anywhere yet. So
Yeah, I
October
don't think so.
27th.
Here's where we share all the tea that happens in Kingston.
This is where things break, is on this podcast. So thank you. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to that day, because I'm from Ontario, but I moved to the city only 2.5 years ago, and I still feel like I'm figuring things out here. So
This
I
is going to be
by.
this is the place for you. Yes, come. Everyone is welcome.
Awesome.
Lots of fun things to happen.
Cool. All right. Well, I want to talk about something a little bit more, maybe surface level, but also still, substantial for people. We're wrapping some buses, aren't we? This year?
We are.
What's that?
Yes, the first one to come out is going to be the Pride Bus.
Okay.
And again, wanting to create solidarity, wanting to demonstrate solidarity, wanting to highlight this group, right? And so we have the Pride Bus that's adorned with the rainbow colors and the different symbols, black,
Nice.
brown, and Two-Spirit. That is going to be, driving around our town. So this is not going to be just for Pride, the month of June, but rather that's a bus that's going to be ongoing.
Oh, okay. So we just wrap it and leave it, and it just kind of
Yes.
goes.
Yeah.
This is great.
Again, a way to say that you're welcome here. Everyone is welcome here. That you matter. That we see you. So this bus is really an opportunity for us to just celebrate all of us and the different diversity in our community.
I'm excited for the opportunity to ride the Pride Bus.
Yes.
What about the Intercultural Arts Festival? Going back to sort of the event planning side of the work that you're tied into. This one has been running for, I want to say, 2 years now, or?
Believe it or not, it's been running for quite some time, and I
Okay.
think there've been different iterations of it. And so it used to be the what is it called? The folklore. Once upon a time, when we had the Kingstonian original diversity groups, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast. The groups that were running this, and then it changed to Intercultural Arts Festival that was led by KIP, again, Kingston Immigration Partners, and then now they have, during the pandemic, the city took on the planning and execution of the Intercultural Arts Festival. This year, we have now went back to the community and said, this is for the community, by the community. We need you to be heavily involved in it. We want to get your ideas. We want you to direct this event. If you think about like Caravana and some of these other events that happen in Toronto, they're not led by one or two individuals at the city.
No.
It's a community event. It's a community effort. And
the city steps in to facilitate, make sure it runs smoothly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that this year right now, where we have a group of dedicated community members who are part of the working group that are leading and guiding the work of the Intercultural Arts Festival.
Very cool.
It is going to take place again. I'm not sure if this is breaking news, but something to think about. It's taking place on September 22nd, again right in front of City Hall, like we did last year. We're expecting you to just travel the world without ever needing a passport. You don't even need to leave Kingston. You can travel the world in a span of 1 hour. And so looking forward to folks to come out.
If it's like the last couple of years, bring your appetites.
Ooh, let me tell you, the food was unbelievable.
Yeah.
At some point, I had to I'm actually now considering what I'm going to wear, because last year my outfit did not allow me to eat as much as I needed to eat. And so there was anything from jerk chicken to Indian food to what was it, to like Ukrainian desserts.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was everything
Japanese
there.
food,
Japanese
like-
food. It was on a point, let me
Yeah.
tell you. So bring your appetite when you're coming.
And even if you aren't able to swing by for the festival for the whole day or for a chunk of it, like take your lunch,
Yes.
swing down by Confederation
Yes.
Basin. That's what I did that day. I think I was a little busy, but I was
And,
very
you know,
glad I went.
Autumn, like, it's important to understand, because I mean, we're talking about events, but events are one way to just really connect with those who don't
Yeah.
necessarily think and maybe be like you,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's not a great way to learn about somebody else's culture. And so, I really want to encourage folks to just not think about, oh, this is not for me. It is so for you. Just come and just learn.
Well, in previous ones, we've had everything from, like, as you mentioned, you know, Indian dancers to bagpipes,
Workshops.
to workshops,
Yes. Yeah.
drag,
Yeah. Yes.
really, like when they say intercultural arts festival, emphasis on the cultural and arts. There is a lot of stuff happening. So
Yeah, we had an acrobat last year too. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, as details start to peter out over the summer, as the group finalizes everything, I encourage people to pay attention because it's a pretty cool, eclectic event.
And you know, I loved watching the children dance. It was incredible. That we had a female artist that performed. And oh, I got chills all over my body just thinking about it. And as she was, I believe, drumming, and she was just having the time of
Yeah.
her life on stage. And I remember just looking down. I actually have a picture of this. Oh my goodness, I can't believe how emotional I'm getting. But I could see these children, all children, by the way, just rocking it. These children were dancing. They were moving. Their hips were not
Having a great time.
They were having a great time, and I loved it. And I think that's so important because I grew up in a community where I wasn't the only one that looked like me,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
to have, you know, a bunch of children just in the streets,
Yep.
Ontario Street,
Yep.
just, you know, rocking their hips, just moving their waist and just, you know, dancing in their shoulders. It was just so much fun. And
That's
I think
incredible.
it's so incredible that we get to do this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I
Yeah.
don't want to rush the summer, but it's a nice thing to have at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, well, then speaking about summer, let's dial it back a bit. Coming up at the end of July, well, I guess the 1st of August would be Emancipation Day. So,
Yes.
what are we doing with that?
Oh goodness. So we have Aaliyah and Tiana, who are leading the working group that is made up of various community partners. So including the library, we have, you know, Queens, we have SLC, we have
yeah.
various groups, you know, Ruthie's Reading Room. We have various community groups that have come together and are saying, how do we showcase and how do we bring awareness to Emancipation Day? So it's going to be a 2-day event. It starts on the Friday where we're going to be doing a flag raising ceremony.
Oh, okay.
That would be the first time in Kingston. Oh, I have chills again. I can't even believe this. This is, woo, you're doing good. And so we're doing a flag raising ceremony on August 1st, and that would be hoping to just bring awareness to, you know, the enslaved people who are now free as a result of the legislation that came out. And the fact that Kingston has decided this is important. We want to see and we want to know that Black people should be celebrated, and so that is happening. And then there will be the Emancipation Day celebration on the Saturday, which is August 3rd. Again, we'll have a Black block party that would include Black businesses, that will include, like, you know, different Black artists and Black events, and really just wanting to celebrate Blackness within Kingston.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like a great opportunity to celebrate. It sounds like a lot is in the works. And I guess we'll see details on that start to peter out in June, July.
Yes, that's correct.
We should probably cover off what Emancipation Day is. Obviously, it's a celebration, very significant, but could you tell me why it's so important?
Yeah, so in 2021, on March 24th, the House of Commons actually voted to officially designate August 1st as Emancipation Day. And it's the day that actually marks in 1834 that the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 came into effect across the British Empire.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Canadians, Kingstonians may not necessarily be aware that Black and Indigenous people were once enslaved in the land that is called Canada now, right? And so Emancipation Day is to celebrate the strength and the perseverance of the Black community.
Would it be analogous to, like, in the States they have Juneteenth? Would this be comparable?
Something similar, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But distinct and different.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very significant day. Very good that we're recognizing this. I believe we've done this the last 2 years. Like, I think we did it the first year. It was recognized by the House of Commons.
Yes. Yeah, we did it in a couple of years ago, and we did it last year as well too. And then this will be our our third year recognizing it.
Just
and
expanding work with the community.
Right. And exactly. So bringing in the community's voice and ensuring that the community is heard and is celebrated. And so we're looking forward to having a great time there.
Sounds great. Okay. I got one more to ask about. National Indigenous Peoples Day is in June, and then there's a different but equally significant event at the end of September for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. How do those ones feature into our work?
You know what? Again, the community is have started its work on the National Indigenous Peoples Day. That's in June. And so again, not a group of people sitting at the city, curating an event or a celebration, but asking the community, what is it that you want to see? What do you want to do? And then, providing the resources in order to realize that day as well too, and to bring awareness to that day as well. And then, as you said, September 30th being Truth and Reconciliation Day. Again, another day for us to pause and reflect on who we are as a community, who we are as a nation, and how we move reconciliation forward.
How we do that as a city, how we do that as individuals. Right. So I guess going forward, we're going to continue to support community as they work to recognize these days and the different significance for them. Right.
And again, a pause for all of us, for all these groups that we've talked about, a pause to understand, who are you? Yeah. And what do I need to know? Because there's a lot to learn. I'm learning, I'm relearning, I'm unlearning. And so it's an opportunity for not just to celebrate. That celebration, it's always critical and important. But why? I think that's really important too. And so we do a little bit of, celebration, but we also need to understand the why.
A reflection element.
The reflection.
Yeah.
Right.
That's significant. Well, okay, this was just sort of a quick smattering of a bunch of different things that the city is working on this topic, but I really appreciate you popping by to talk about some of this. I know so much of it has been swirling around, and not all of it is very well explained or well known broadly, so I'm glad we could cover off some of that today. Yeah. And for everyone out there listening, as the city grows into the future, I have to say I'm pretty excited to see what comes next. There is so much happening in this community.
So there's a quote that says, we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be. So we are making progress. We are making change. And I'm really excited about where we're going.
I don't really have anything else to add to that because I think that's a really great note to end on, frankly. I think that really sums up what we've been trying to get at with this episode. I just have a couple of quick housekeeping notes to say that, as always, if you're looking to learn more about things at the City of Kingston, to check out our previous episodes. Last month, I spoke with the team leading the city's official plan and integrated mobility plan rewrite, which are core foundational plans for the city and will set out how we grow and move into the future. If you're interested in learning about how the city's planning for 2051, check it out. And if you have any ideas for a topic we should tell you more about, please reach out to podcasts@cityofkingston.ca. Thanks for listening to Tell Me More, a production of City of Kingston podcast created by the city's communications and customer experience team. Thank you.